I'm shiny hunting for an entire competitive team, but if I don't become the #1 ranked player in the world within 3 hours, I have to trade away every single one. Our first Pokemon is Abomasnow. Its ability sets up the snow, increasing the defense stat of all ice-type Pokemon and making Blizzard never miss. Next up, Iron Bundle. It's an ice type with Blizzard that's super fast and really benefits from the snow, but it also has the move Aurora Veil, which will make the whole team even bulkier. Abomasnow is super weak to fire type Pokemon, so at this point I need something I can switch in against them. I'll add Arcanine, since it's a defensive fire type that further decreases my opponent's damage every time it switches in with Intimidate, and also it can burn my opponents to make them even weaker. I got a lot of defense, so I feel like we need more damage. I'll add the current #1 most used Pokemon, Fluttermane. It's super fast and strong, and if I give it the choice specs item and a Terra type of Fairy, I can make it even stronger. And thanks to all my defense, I can keep it alive longer to keep damaging my opponents. My team has damage, and it has support, but it doesn't have a lot of ways to control the speed of the battle. I saw a really cool team at the recent European International Championships that had Abomasnow and Bronzong, so I'll give that a try. Bronzong is super tanky and can set up Trick Room to make slower Pokemon move before faster ones, which pairs well with Abomasnow. Bronzong might need some help to set Trick Room up, and I also need another Pokemon that can be threatening in Trick Room, so I'll add Iron Hand. It gets the move Fake Out, which can stop opponents from moving for 1 turn, which is enough to set Trick Room up. Plus, it's slow, tanky, and strong. It's the perfect last Pokemon. Before we continue with the video, I'd like to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Buyee. Living in America, you might think you can buy whatever you want, whenever you want. Unfortunately, that's just not the case. There are tons of Japanese businesses that don't ship internationally. And who can blame them? Shipping fees are normally outrageous. Well, fret no longer. Thanks to Buyee, you can buy anything from Japan. This includes products found on websites like Rakuten, Amazon Japan, and Yahoo Japan Auction. Buyee will purchase or bid on the item on your behalf, have it sent to a warehouse in Japan, and then ship it to you themselves. Buyee has over 100 shipping methods, dozens of payment methods, and 4 insurance plans to meet your needs. They also offer support in several languages, including English, so you know exactly what you're buying. Sign up today using the link in the description and you'll get 10% off your first purchase on Buyee. Thanks again. Now back to the video. And so, after 8 hours of searching and another 2 hours of training, I finally have my full shiny team. I put in a lot of work to get these Pokemon, and all of a sudden, it hits me. I might lose them all. I'm pretty nervous. As soon as I start battling, I'll only have 3 hours to complete this challenge. In order to become the #1 ranked player in the world, I first have to climb out of Great Ball tier, then through Ultra Ball, and finally climb through the ranks of Master Ball until I stand above everyone else. Unfortunately, things aren't gonna be easy. Our first game is against Arceus. The battle starts and it's Bronzong and Iron Hand staring down Sylveon and Annihilate. Sylveon terrestrializes to ground, but Fake Out stops it from doing any shenanigans as Trick Room goes up. Iron Hands takes out Sylveon, but things start looking dicey as I can't get rid of the Annihilate and my Pokemon start taking a ton of damage. But I've got a trap card up my sleeve. I do a little damage to all of their Pokemon, and before my opponent knows what hit them, everything can be KO'd with Dazzling Gleam from my choice specs Fluttermane, and I win. And somehow, I'm already in Ultra Ball tier. I didn't expect to get here so quickly, but I am definitely not complaining. Once I make it out of this tier, all that's left is to make it to rank 1. But my next opponent has a terrifying team, with Palafin, Arcanine, and Amoonguss, a core that's won the majority of events this season. I lead off with Abomasnow and Iron Bundle, and I get an Aurora Veil up for free as my opponent makes a defensive play. I Blizzard and freeze the Goldengo, but I launch a Flare Blitz in the same turn, immediately thawing it out. The Palafin thinks they can get rid of my Arcanine, but I completely flip the tables by terrestrializing to grass and burning them. I'm winning the war of attrition, so they switch both their Pokemon out to try and get some ground. But I sacrifice my Arcanine to once again gain the upper hand. Even though I'm down in Pokemon, I've still got my ace, choice specs Fluttermane. I bring it in and KO both of their Pokemon, putting us in a 2 against 2, but the Palafin is still burnt, and that burn means it can't KO Fluttermane, meaning I win. I still have 2.5 hours left and we're already climbing through Ultra Ball, but we still have a ways to go before my Pokemon are safe. I jump right into the next battle, but right away things are looking rough. My opponent has a team chock full of offensive threats like Fluttermane, Chien-Pao, and Dragonite, but they also have a Talonflame which can stop me from setting up Trick Room with its attack Taunt. I decide to go with Abomasnow and Iron Bundle to get rid of the Talonflame, and then try and win with Bronzong and Iron Hands after. The battle starts and I'm staring down Ting-Lu and Talonflame. Steel Talon, okay. I'm not totally sure what they want to do here. Offensive Terra. They're Flare Blissing, I guess. Shoot. Oh! I was not prepared for that. Okay, that's not good. Wait, they Earthquaked. Huh? What? That was a weird start and definitely not awful, but this game is far from over. I lost my weather, making both my Pokemon completely vulnerable. Gholdengo switches in and I can't damage it. I bring in Bronzong as they switch in Dragonite, but Gholdengo sets up a nasty plot, doubling its special attack. I Terra Fire my Bronzong so I can get Trick Room up as they take out my Iron Bundle, but now they've fallen right into my trap. I go into Abomasnow, but I decide to attack my own Pokemon. Bronzong's Gyro Ball becomes stronger the slower Bronzong is than the target. And Abomasnow is not only very slow, it's also being protected by the Aurora Veil from earlier and the snow that it set up. This very weak attack activates the weakness policy item, which doubles the holder's offensive stats when it takes super effective damage. Unfortunately, Ting-Lu switches in, and its ability just barely allows Gholdengo to survive, and it KOs Abomasnow. But the damage is done. Iron Hands comes in and KOs Ting-Lu, and my opponent, realizing they can't deal with either of my Pokemon, forfeits. I am now one win away from Master Ball tier, but things are about to get rocky, or snowy. My next opponent also has an Abomasnow, as well as a Glaceon. I want to set Snow up to help my team, but I don't want to give it to my opponent for free since their team also benefits from it. In the end, I try a hybrid strategy with Abomasnow in the back and no Iron Bundle. I decide to make a super aggressive play, switching my Fluttermane out to try and get the Ting-Lu to activate my weakness policy with Heavy Slam, but they just protect. And suddenly I'm on the back foot, and it just gets worse. I protect my Abomasnow, and not only do they double attack my Arcanine, completely wasting my protect, but their Arcanine is revealed to be holding the Choice Band item, causing it to do over half of my health. I Terrastallize my Abomasnow to water, but Flare Blitz still does over half, and their Arcanine survives Earth Power. I think I can still win, but their Iron Hands reveals a surprise Terra Electric Thunder Punch, and one-hit KOs my Fluttermane. And at this point, I just don't have enough health left to win. I lose my first game and fall further from Master Ball, and panic starts setting in. Things have been going so smoothly, but this one loss is a major issue. I'm already 40 minutes into this challenge, and I probably need to win 2 or 3 more before I even get to Master Ball, and then I have to beat everyone there before I can get to rank 1. I spent so long getting these Pokemon, but more than that, I've started getting attached to them. They're becoming my friends, and I don't want to say goodbye. But this isn't the time to get sentimental. I need to focus on winning. This next game is critical. A loss could cause me to spiral, getting even further from my goal, while a win will make up for what just happened. But my heart drops as soon as I see their team. Dondozo. Dondozo is one of the strongest Pokemon in the game when it combines with Tatsugiri, causing all of its stats to double, and I don't have any way to get rid of those boosts. The battle starts and I set up Aurora Veil as their Choice Specs Fluttermane does huge damage to both of my Pokemon. Abomasnow does some damage with Blizzard, but Dondozo yawns it, forcing me to either switch out or fall asleep. I switch Abomasnow into Arcanine, trying to lower Dondozo's attack, but it has the unpopular Oblivious ability, causing Intimidate to fail. I do a bit more damage with Blizzard as they launch another Dazzling Gleam and yawn my Iron Bundle. I need this Fluttermane gone, so I launch another Blizzard and a Terra Grass Will-O-Wisp. But the worst case scenario happens. Fluttermane switches into Tatsugiri, activating Dondozo's power-up, and Blizzard freezes Dondozo. This is a huge problem, as now my Arcanine's Will-O-Wisp fails, but it'll be okay as long as Dondozo stays frozen. I switch out, trying to give the Dondozo as few turns as possible, but it thaws and takes out my Fluttermane, putting me super far behind. I knock out Dondozo, but I no longer have a way to beat this Choice Specs Fluttermane, but I won't give up. They send out Iron Bundle, and I dodge a huge Draco Meteor, allowing my Abomasnow to survive, KO the bundle, and heal a ton of health with Giga Drain. Arcanine finishes off Tatsugiri, but the Fluttermane Terrastalizes to Fairy, and it all comes down to whether or not Arcanine survives the Choice Specs Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam. If Arc dies, Aboma dies, I'll tell you that much. Whew. A narrow and crucial win. One more win will get us into Master Ball, but I've been here before and I choked it. My heart is racing as I wait to see which team is guarding the gate. And I see a team that looks familiar. I decide to lead with a Boma Snow and Iron Bundle. I get the Snow up and immediately switch into Arcanine, lowering Chen Pao's attack. But Tinkaton has own tempo, preventing the drop. And Tinkaton's Terra Steel Gigaton Hammer does over half of my Arcanine's health. I predict Ceruledge to switch in and launch a Hydro Pump and a Flare Blitz, thinking Hydro Pump will KO Ceruledge and then Flare Blitz will hit the Chen Pao. But Hydro Pump misses, and instead of taking 2 KOs, I do no damage and activate Ceruledge's Flash Fire. The only way back into this game at this point is to play out of my mind. I predict Ceruledge to protect and go for Aurora Veil and Will-O-Wisp, totally ignoring it. Amoonguss comes in, but I predict it to not Rage Powder, and Hydro Pump takes out Ceruledge this time. But then disaster strikes. Tinkaton comes in and outspeeds my Arcanine and knocks it out. And then, because Arcanine went down, Amoonguss puts my Iron Bundle to sleep. I take out Amoonguss, but I'm forced to Terra a Boma Snow. Chen Pao comes in and my opponent double attacks my Iron Bundle, who stays asleep, but thanks to the Snow, Iron Bundle is so tanky and it survives the onslaught. A Boma Snow takes out Chen Pao and Tinkaton can't win on its own. I win the game and make it to Master Ball, ranked 12th in the world. And I immediately lose. I even got pretty lucky, but my opponent saved their Terrafire Garchomp for just the right moment and totally destroys my team with it, despite the huge lead. And I fall from 12th in the world all the way down to 30th. And I'm over halfway through my time. The clock is running out, and fast. I need to pull myself together. I load into another game and win in 4 turns, making quick work of my opponent's offensive team thanks to a Trick Room sweep. But unfortunately, even though losing took me from 12th to 30th, winning afterwards only brings me back up to rank 26. I'm really starting to panic now as the clock continues to tick down. I load into another game, this time against another Abomasnow team. They try and use Imprison to stop me from setting up Trick Room, but I just attack, doing a ton of damage early. I knock out their Fluttermane without taking too much damage, pick up a KO on the switched in Abomasnow, and win the game without too much trouble. And suddenly, I'm ranked 9th in the world. I have under an hour left, but I've made it to the top 10. If I keep winning, I can do this. But I can only afford maybe one more loss. There isn't a moment to rest. It's time for the next game. Another Dondozo team. I lead with a Abomasnow and Iron Bundle, but I'm immediately facing down Talonflame and Fluttermane, a bad lead matchup that forces me to switch to Arcanine. I get Aurora Veil up, but I take a ton of damage. I'm forced to give up Bundle as my opponent sets up Tailwind, but Arcanine takes out their Fluttermane. Unfortunately, my tools to deal with Dondozo are very limited, with Iron Bundle down and Arcanine already on the field. I decide to take a risk, leaving Abomasnow vulnerable. In the current format, Talonflame almost never carry Flare Blitz. They had Flare Blitz. Abomasnow surviving is huge, and it does a ton of damage and heals back most of its health that it lost with Giga Drain. They try and double Abomasnow to take it out, but I Terra Water and KO Dondozo with Giga Drain. Arcanine finishes off Talonflame, and I somehow win the game and find myself at rank 4. One more win could definitely put me at rank 1. I'll get to keep my Pokemon, who have been with me for this whole journey. But then I look at the clock. 40 minutes left. A loss now would make things close, way closer than I want to cut it. But my could-be final opponent has the scariest Pokemon I've seen thus far. Worse than Dondozo, Tinglu, and Fluttermane combined. My opponent has Slowpoke. And you might think, Slowpoke is a joke, but it actually isn't. It's extremely defensive and it's almost impossible to stop it from setting up Trick Room. I know because I used it 3 years ago, and just like that team, they have Torkoal. Slowpoke is one of the slowest Pokemon in the game, and under Trick Room, it's even slower than Torkoal. This means it can use Surf to activate Torkoal's weakness policy, doubling its special attack and making it ridiculously powerful. And as the battle starts, I realize something. There is no way I can guarantee that Trick Room will not go up. Hariyama and Slowpoke stare down my Bronzong and Fluttermane. I can go for Helping Hand Shadow Ball to KO Slowpoke, but if it terastallizes, I won't KO, and Hariyama can KO my Fluttermane with Heavy Slam. I decide to play it safe and use Helping Hand Dazzling Gleam to KO Hariyama and do some damage to Slowpoke. Trick Room goes up and Torkoal comes in. I switch Fluttermane into Iron Hands and terastallize my Bronzong. They go for the Terra Fire and double Torkoal's special attack with Surf. Both my Pokemon narrowly survive, but that's actually a problem because neither Pokemon threatens Torkoal. They switch into Fluttermane, but I double attack that slot to KO it as Torkoal KOs both my Pokemon. It's all down to this final 2 against 2. I predict the Torkoal is not going to protect, and I Shadow Ball it, but it survives, and Slowpoke tanks the Flare Blitz. Torkoal went for Eruption, which doesn't KO either of my Pokemon, but Slowpoke sets up Trick Room. It all comes down to whether or not Extreme Speed KOs Slowpoke. It's going to be really close, but it just barely gets it. I win the game. Is this it? Am I rank 1? The screen updates and I find myself at rank 2. I only have 25 minutes left. If I lose now, I might fail this challenge. But if I win, it'll be over and my Pokemon will be safe. But my next opponent has a bizarre team with Iron Thorns, a Pokemon I don't think I've ever played against. I have no idea what to expect. The battle starts with Iron Bundle using Electric Terrain. This activates Iron Thorns' Quark Drive, but because of Arcanine's Intimidate, its defense stat is boosted instead of its attack. Iron Thorns' Electric Seed activates, but I smack it with Flutter Mane, doing a good chunk as it Swords Dances. If I don't get rid of this thing quickly, I'm gonna be in trouble. I take out Iron Bundle and drop Iron Thorns low, but Scizor hits the field. Scizor can KO my Flutter Mane before I can finish off the Iron Thorns, but I decide to sacrifice it anyway. I don't want anything I have in the back to take a strong hit, and Flutter Mane's always a liability until I get rid of this Scizor. So I'm okay letting Flutter Mane go down here. Except my opponent predicts me to switch out my Flutter Mane and tries to get the jump on me by switching out their Scizor. But by staying in, I KO both of their Pokemon, and my opponent forfeits. I did it. I won. I raced to the results screen. Winning at rank 2 all but guarantees me number 1 in the world. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Somehow, I am still rank 2, and I only have 15 minutes left. It all comes down to this final game. A win, and I've done it. A loss, and I'll have to say goodbye. To be honest, when I started this challenge, I was okay letting go of these Pokemon. But now, after so many close games and clutch plays, I really don't want to see them go. I want them to stay. I want to win. And it's all down to this final game. One way or another, this is it. I won't have time for another battle if I lose here. My final opponent has a really scary team. Torkoal is a problem for my Snow Core, and I don't have many good ways to hit Belly Bolt. But the real problem Pokemon, I had no way of anticipating. The battle starts with Flutter Mane and Arcanine staring down Torkoal and Roaring Moon. Normally, this would be fine. Arcanine would intimidate Roaring Moon, allowing Flutter Mane to survive any attack. But this Roaring Moon is clear Amulet, which means I can't drop its stats. And thanks to Torkoal's Drought ability, its Photosynthesis has raised its attack stat. In other words, my Flutter Mane is not safe. The good news is that Flutter Mane can KO Roaring Moon in one shot, but it seems too easy. I decide to make a ridiculous play, launching Shadow Ball at Roaring Moon despite the fact that it's not very effective, and Roaring Moon terastallizes to fire. I manage to avoid the trap, but Extreme Speed and Shadow Ball don't even drop Roaring Moon to red HP, and Roaring Moon KOs Flutter Mane as Torkoal yawns Arcanine. Now, my Arcanine's about to fall asleep, and I just lost my best Pokemon. I bring in a Abomasnow, and I terastallize to water, but my opponent brings in Belly Bolt, and suddenly, Abomasnow's type advantage has turned into a type disadvantage. I double into Belly Bolt with Fake Out and Blizzard, but somehow, Blizzard doesn't KO the Roaring Moon. This game is quickly slipping through my fingers. I bring Arcanine in, only taking a little damage. I'm so far behind. I need to make another prediction. The Roaring Moon is scared of Extreme Speed, so instead I double the Belly Bolt with Flare Blitz. Torkoal switches in and I take out Belly Bolt, but Blizzard misses Torkoal. Roaring Moon comes back in, and I have another choice to make. I just chose not to Extreme Speed in front of this Roaring Moon. Will they expect me to not attack it again? I think they'll protect. I protect Arcanine and Earth Power Torkoal, and I get the turn exactly right. Roaring Moon protects, and Torkoal goes for a yawn into my protected Arcanine as I smack Torkoal with Earth Power. And now, I finally launch the Extreme Speed, plus a Giga Drain to cover a switch into Great Tusk, who I suspect is the final Pokemon. But they stay in and let me KO Roaring Moon. Unfortunately, Torkoal yawns Arcanine, and the final Pokemon is Great Tusk. I switch Arcanine into Iron Hands, who takes a close combat but narrowly survives. And now I need to call whether or not this Great Tusk is gonna protect. I think it won't. And it doesn't. Fake Out stops its attack, and Giga Drain takes the KO. Torkoal KOs Iron Hands, but it's too late. Abomasnow and Arcanine take out Torkoal, and I win the battle with 2 minutes left on the clock. But will it be enough? I was just at rank 2, and winning didn't get me to rank 1. It's out of my hands now. All I can do is check the standings, and It was down to the wire, but we did it. And I get to keep my Pokemon. This challenge was difficult. I didn't realize how much pressure the timer would add, not to mention the idea that these Pokemon that were working so hard for me might be traded away into the ether. But I think doing this challenge also made me appreciate these Pokemon more than I would have otherwise. When you know that the time you spend could end at any moment, you tend to appreciate it more.